the circle, let the truth ignite. Every claim you swing better land tonight. I've sharpened my mind like a blade in the forge. Celtic fire in my chest, lightning pulsing in the chords. Your words dance pretty, but the logic is thin. I don't fight with feelings, facts always win. You want heat, I'm the storm in the north. Every sound wave I speak hits with thunderous force. Raise your voice if you think you're ready, but my stance stays grounded, iron steady. This isn't rage, this is reason in flight. A tool of the mind in electric light. I don't break in the clash of thought. My truth stands firm where the praise or fought. In the roar of the crowd, through the charge of the night, I bait with a blade made of knowledge and light. Celtic hearts in fire in my spine. Argument of iron, unshaken by time.
I'll tear it apart. I don't swing at people, only claims with no heart. When the logic collapses, it's plain to see. The facts don't bend just to make you agree.
I'm not here to shout, I'm here to be clear. Truth walks with courage, not anger or fear. Your rhetoric falters, my reasoning climbs. I strike with precision, clean, sharp lines.
The floor, but reason beats volume every time for sure. When the dust settles and emotions fade, only strong arguments remain unscathed.
I don't break in the clash of thought. My truth stands firm with the praise or fought. In the roar of the crowd, through the charge of the night, I debate with a blade made of knowledge and light. Celtic hearts in fire in my spine. Arguments of iron, unshaken by time. The mandolin flickers, the bass line grows. Tin whistle rising like a wind that knows. Every claim you make, every point you try, cut through the noise with a mind held high. This isn't war, this is truth refined. Not a battle of fists, but a battle.
Oh, sorry, I heard you saying something. So let's chill. No, you're good. I just pulled up the screen.
Welcome in, guys.
We are
welcome
all
in.
Coming through on your stream, by the way.
Coming through on the stream. What do you mean? You're all right, Leia. You're all right. As long as you're good. You're good to go. Oh, really? What the hell? All right, give me just a sec here. Welcome in, Tater Nation. Sorry, give me a sec. Booming it up already. This stream. Let me see. Permissions. Leia. Where are you at? What the hell? Video. There you go. Try now. Maybe have to exit out and come back in. All right. So welcome in, Tater Nation. So we have a special an episode for us today. We are having a debate tonight. First ever on my stream and first ever for one of our debaters. So I want to give the shout out to those debaters really fast. They are in the description below. Please go and follow them. Give them love when you can. We'll get into the debate here really fast. And so typical setup, 5-minute openers and 5-minute clarification back and forth. And then we'll do an hour of open floor, 5-minute closers, and then 30 minutes of back and forth, or if there are any questions from the audience, we'll take those at that point in time. Apparently was a little bit off my game was starting today, so I apologize, guys. All right, so the prompt, let me see, what is the prompt? Why am I having such a problem here? Leigha, you know the prompt, don't you? Goodness gracious, I've been muted for you guys the whole time. Leigha, you know the prompt, don't you? I don't.
Yes,
I don't
do,
remember
yeah.
the prompt exactly. So if you would read that prompt, and then you should be good to have their video, because apparently I've been muted the whole time. Wow, it's been quite the start today. Okay, so if you want to jump out and jump back in, if your video doesn't work automatically, you should be good to try that. And then read off the prompt whenever you have a second for the chat, if you would, please.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it is stigma and shame help people avoid drugs or help them to get clean and sober if they do become addicted.
Okay. And then in the chat, if you guys would just let me know if there's any issues with hearing anybody, so I can turn people up or turn people down to make sure that your audio quality can be turned up or down and you're not being blasted out by myself or somebody. All right. So with that being said, and you guys understand the layout and the rules, we'll just hop right in. I'll pass it over to you guys to start. The affirmative will go first, and I believe that would be Vosh, right?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. So give me a second here, since I'm completely off my game apparently, and I need to start a timer for 5 minutes. And then whenever you're ready, I'll start with your voice.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you to the audience for tuning in, to my opponent Leigha for joining this important debate, and especially to Tater for hosting and moderating. Tonight, we affirm that shame and stigma help deter new users and motivate addicts toward recovery and sustained sobriety. My opponent will likely share emotional appeals and anecdotes about how internalized shame harms those already struggling, leading some to use more to numb the pain. I don't dispute this in extreme cases of cruel personal attacks. However, for the general population and prevention, constructive shame and stigma are powerful tools. Without the discomfort of recognizing harm, guilt over actions, or awareness of social consequences, there's little motivation to stop or avoid starting. Let's define our terms clearly, using standard dictionary meanings. Shame is defined as a painful emotion caused by consciousness of guilt, shortcoming, or impropriety. Stigma is defined as a mark of shame or discredit. If we can agree on these, it becomes clear. Without consciousness of wrongdoing, why change? Shame is uncomfortable, and some may dull it with substances, but it also signals that something is wrong and needs fixing. We must balance it with compassion. Shame the behavior, support the person seeking help. History even shows us that this works. Anti-smoking campaigns combine education, taxes, denormalization, and social stigma. In the 1960s, nearly 42% of U.S. adults smoked. Today, it's around 11 to 14%. A dramatic success driven partly by making smoking socially unacceptable, while offering cessation support. You can contrast that with destigmatization experiments. After Oregon's Measure 110 decriminalized small amounts of hard drugs in 2020, one analysis estimated a 23% increase in unintentional overdose deaths in 2021, just 1 year later. Public backlash over visible disorder led to partial recriminalization. This isn't compassion. It enables while fentanyl ravages communities. We cannot coddle addicts into believing their behavior has no consequences. That harms them and society. True help pairs accountability with pathways to recovery. As recovery resources themselves note, guilt over specific harms can motivate amends and change, unlike paralyzing shame. And with that, I will cede the rest of my time to Leah.
Thank you. All right. And Leah, are you ready?
I am. If it's all right, I haven't tried to come out and back in. I didn't want to interrupt his opening. If I could video or screen share so that I could show you my visual here, and then I'll come back out and come back in.
Yeah,
If that's all
absolutely.
right.
That's perfectly fine. Yeah, I think you should have permission to video. And so if you have any issues when you come back in, let me know. And you should be good to screen share whenever you're ready. Oh, maybe I have to give you permission, probably, huh? Let me. I was like, oh, the Tater Talks room will work just perfectly fine. Let's see.
That's quite all right.
Use activity. Try to screen share now.
All right. 1 minute.
Hopefully I'm not a potato here. So I'm not sure exactly what all you need for that. Do you know how to
All right. I
screen
believe
share?
I'll have the. Yes, I do.
Okay.
I'm running low here. Let me plug in here. I am so sorry.
You're all right.
It's been a hot mess. Give
You're
me
all right.
2 seconds.
Buck Crawford in the chat. Appreciate the engagement. It looks like they're here for you, Leia. Appreciate you being here and the engagement. Appreciate everybody in the chat. Again, if you haven't gone and liked or you subscribed to the debaters, please do so. It is in the description below. And it is Vosh's debut debate. And this is the first debate that I've set up on my channel. We are doing these as much as we can. Please bear with us. It is our first time.
Yes, I'm
Be gentle.
indeed. Yes, indeed. We shall be. We shall be. I'm goodness gracious, just not doing well here.
You're kind of
Just
quiet,
this.
Leia. I'm not sure if you're far away from your mic or.
I might just have the volume. Is that better?
Maybe. I think it sounds better for a minute. See how it ends up going. Hey, Crusader, good to see you.
How about Crusader? It's my fault, everybody, that we're held up for just a second.
You're good.
Having issues here.
What do you need like, is this something with the permissions? Do you need something I'm doing?
Nope, it's completely my fault and my fault alone.
Oh, you're good. You're good. Like I said, I just want to make sure if there's something I can help.
No, you know a little bit about the way it's been going, and I had a technical difficulty.
You're good.
In retrospect, I probably should have suggested we get that sorted before I dove right in. I was a little excited.
I should have done that too. Like I said, this is the first time. So, Smokey Bear Bad looks like another LeighaBoBeigha fan. So I appreciate the engagement, guys. And again, Vosh is one of our community members. Both of these debaters are basically on the same side. We're just trying to give you some entertainment tonight. Spark some interest in the debate scene on my channel, get some engagement on maybe setting up more of these. These are very amateur. If you couldn't tell, I'm a potato, let's face it. And we're just trying to get people that wouldn't necessarily be interested in getting demolished by some of these blood sport debaters, having a chance to try their hand in the debate sphere, see if they like it. We're trying a different way of doing things. I have a lot of things that I want to try with my channel. Some of them might flop, right? Some of them might be a completely different scene, but I want to try to change things a little bit. Let's see. Apprentice says, did you make sure Vosh can't cheat with his dynamic cuts, adding unearned gravitas to his argumentation? That's funny. Yeah, are you making sure that cutting isn't happening? Go ahead, Larry.
Yeah. Let me just turn it off entirely. I think I changed the setting so it won't do that, but let's just turn it off.
You're good, buddy.
There we go.
I'm sure he's teasing you. No friendly fire tonight, in other words. All right. So, you were saying something.
Yes, I'm saying, let me call right back in. Give me one moment.
Yeah, go ahead. Do what you got to do. Yes, Buck Crawford. The debate is on stigma. Does it help with deterring people from getting into the smug scene? And if it does, if they do get into the scene, does it help them to get out of the degeneracy and such? Hey, birds aren't even real. Good to see you. Good to see you. Appreciate the engagement, guys. And again, if you haven't checked out the description, please go and just subscribe to the debaters tonight. Give them some love. But come on back. Make sure that you're giving me the view. All right. So, Leigh, are you able to get your video started and whatnot?
Can you hear me? I believe so.
I can hear you.
Oh, you sound way better, too.
Yeah, right.
Do I really?
Yeah. Do we need my second alternate account? I'll just kick him out if we don't need him.
No, I'll just use this screen share.
Okay.
Like I said, I'm so sorry about that.
No worries. No worries. No worries. All right, so I have got it pulled up. So whenever you're ready, Leia. And then, is this part of your 5 minute? Is that what it is?
No, give me just one moment.
You're good. You're good.
Get this OneNote pulled up where I have of course I had to use the only app that I have not also gotten on my phone, just to be super difficult.
Oh, of course, right. Super entertaining, I'm sure, for the chat, right? Remember, guys, this is my first.
I'm so sorry.
My first setup. Please bear with me here, guys. It will be better from now on. I'll try to get things ironed out maybe the day before. This was supposed to happen last month, so at least we had a month to prepare, and we still didn't. We good?
No, I feel like that's definitely also on me.
You're good. You're good. You're good. I'm seriously just taking all the blame. I'm not. It is something I will make sure I take better care of for the next one. All right. If you're ready, I will pass the time over to you. I'm just filibustering until you're ready.
Okay. Can you see my screen here?
Yeah. Whether they can read it or not is the other question. You'll need to stop for a moment and let it load on my end and see if it loads, and then you'll have to very slowly drag it down. It looks like. I'm not sure if it's your internet, my internet, or the combination of the two. Sorry, guys.
Well, really all I'm wanting to show are the pictures, basically. So I have these as basic notes, so the pictures are really all that matters.
That's fair. That's fair. Real quick, hold on for just a second. Birds aren't even real. It says, are we supposed to be seeing the screen? Yes, birds aren't even real. If you're not seeing the screen now, please let me know in the chat because it should be loaded up. I'm not sure what's going on if you're not seeing it. If you're maybe behind or something, I'm not sure. Internet. Gotta love it.
It does look a tiny bit funky on the stream side.
Yeah, no, I get that, but as long as you can see it is the question. Now, if you can zoom in on the picture, Leia, that's probably going to be best. Yep. And Crucible Crusader says typed all that out herself. Okay, thank you, Buck Crawford. Thank you for that feedback. I appreciate that. It's good to know that I'm not boomering it up that badly. Okay, so so you should be able to see the picture being zoomed in on the screen, and I will hand the time over to Leia.
All right, thank you so much.
Yep.
So here we have.
Is this part of your 5 minutes, or what are we doing here?
Oh yeah.
Okay, then I will start when you're ready.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Thank you, and I'm so
Yep.
sorry about
You're
that.
good.
Also, I would also like to thank Vosh and, of course, the Tater for hosting us tonight. I'm excited about our debate. I would like to talk to you a little bit about the science and mechanism behind addiction and relapse and recovery. I might could provide some personal anecdotes later when we get into the back and forth, but that's really not what I'm interested in right now, because if you're not an addict in recovery yourself, that's really not going to convince you, right? So here we see a picture of the reward circuit in the brain. It's really important to understand how addiction works in the brain and what it does to the brain to actually be able to have this conversation, right? So long story short, you could read all that if you really want to, but our reward circuit here is stimulated every single time we do drugs. Which ends up, especially opiates and opioids, but really any type of drug or alcohol, which means eventually over time, the only time that you get that reward feeling, those good chemicals and hormones in your brain, are when you are doing drugs. That's how it changes your brain over time, is that it destroys the pathways that once were natural to get to that pleasure center, right? Which is super damaging. And that's one of the biggest reasons that people end up getting addicted to drugs, is because, because they don't have any other happiness, joy, enjoyment out of life without that baseline of at least getting better, right? Then talking about motivation. Of course, motivation is a critical element of changing our behavior. And in 3 different studies that are noted here, the motivation somebody has to actually get and stay clean is going to be the highest indicator of their ability to recover and stay in recovery. And changing these pathways in the brain takes time, right? And you've got to work with a compassionate and caring advisor or therapist or partner or MAT, doctor, whichever pathway that you would choose to take, that's actually going to listen to you. In the past, we have seen, if we see here, these are some of our statistics, which you can read if you'd like here. We know that there are millions of Americans that suffer from substance use disorders, and we also know that in the past, we used shame and stigma as a model already. See, this isn't something that would be a novel change, that would be something new for us, as this is actually how people dealt with addiction for many, many years. If you take, for example, the Harrison Narcotics Act of 1914, afterward it was illegal for physicians to treat people with drug addiction. They just stopped treating them, and then later on they put them into asylums and inebriate homes, right? By the 1920s, a compassionate treatment of opioid addiction was available in medical clinics. Then, of course, there were the spreading of pamphlets saying, even in the 1950s, that drunkenness was indeed, quote-unquote drunkenness, was only a moral failing, and that basically people did not have the will to get and stay clean. So we have all of these models of addiction and treatment that have not worked. We also must understand addictive behavior itself is a survival strategy. It's not a choice. After you become addicted, it is no longer a choice, as simple as putting the drug down. And we also must understand, while I don't like the saying relapse is part of recovery, because I kind of feel like it's a planning your failure, right? A lot of people will have several relapses before they're able to become a recovered drug addict or alcoholic. And you will, even if you don't initially, there's this thing called post-acute withdrawal. After you are physically ill, you then become highly depressed and you revert to whether it's mental health or PTSD, like one of these articles talks about, these kind of coping mechanisms for behavior of trauma that led you into the addiction. And so if you don't have coping strategies, it's really easy during that time to fall into the addiction. And then here is a great statistic, some statistics to know about what shame and stigma we experience now. 75.2% of the public do not believe a person with a substance use disorder is experiencing a chronic medical illness. 65.4% indicate they would not want somebody with SUD marrying into their family. 46.1% said that, respondents who have an opioid use disorder expressed feeling ashamed of themselves. Then we have a publication I'll go on likely to talk a little bit more about, the Shatterproof Addiction Stigma Index, which was this huge metadata analysis that shows us this idea of not in my backyard, NIMBY, right? And of course, the overwhelmingly that these people don't want drug addicts anywhere near them. However, we do see attitudes are beginning to change. And when the question's asked, well, what if this person's in recovery? You can see these percentages go down. Do you want them living next door? No. What if they're in recovery? Okay, maybe.
And that was time, just so you know.
Okay.
You good?
Yeah, no, that's I'll get into a little bit more of this in the back and forth. That's totally fine.
Okay. So I'll give you a
my
guy's
time was
chance.
only about 3 minutes. If she wants to take 2 more minutes to wrap it up,
And that's fine too. I was just about to say, if you guys want to, we have 5 minutes to clarify back and forth, right? So if you guys want to take that time to just kind of flush out everything that you've got left, and then you guys can work out what you have. I mean, I know you guys are pretty easy going with each other, so you can finish off with what you have, and then we can go from there.
Okay, sure, that works for me. I definitely 2 minutes would be more than fair. I'll be very happy with that. Thank you, boss. Actually, as a matter of fact, we have found already through data and through case analysis that stigma actually, if I can English, perpetuates addiction. This belief of addiction being a moral failing begins this cycle of addiction where you feel ashamed and you feel as if you're never going to get clean, and then you use again, and it's just this spiral, right? So we see that these public attitudes have a great impact on people. Here we have, again, people that were polled. How likely is it a person with STD situation caused by his own bad character? It's half and half. And a lack of moral strength is the cause of STD. Once again, about half and half. I think it's pretty sad in 2026. People believe it's really as simple as, well, they're just a bad person or they're not strong enough to quit. That's wild to me. And we see that these attitudes are working against evidence-based effective interventions and preventing these people in getting a long-term recovery. And then, of course, there's medications, which we can also get into. These are here the 5 stages of relapse, basically, and you see the cycle. You are thinking about it, really thinking about it, you're planning to do it, you're doing it, and then we go back into maintenance or sobriety. Processes for engaging do differ across cultures, but listening lies at the heart of nearly all of them. Good listening crosses cultures as well. It stretches the imagination to think of people who don't appreciate being welcomed, heard, understood, affirmed, and recognized as autonomous human beings. In our experience, these are universally valued. Milner and Rolnick, who did that study from before. And this is just a physical representation of this shame spiral, right? When we are humiliated or stigmatized, it starts with, oh, I feel guilty, and oh man, I can't do anything right, and well, they're going to be mad at me anyway if I get high. Well, here's, mom, she's mad at me because I'm high. Well, now I just want to get high, and now I'm going to get high. And it's a whole cycle over and over again. Yeah. That's pretty much all I had for the opening. Thank you again, Bosch.
Yeah. No, thanks for wrapping it up.
So that was about 2.5. And then, like I said, we have about 5, 6, 7.5 minutes left. I'll leave it up to you guys on how we separate that, split that up. And if there is any need to do the ironing out, and I'll just close out the stream so we're not. Let's see, where's that close? How do I close that? There we go. And I'll let you guys figure out how we want to get the last 7.5 minutes worked out, but I will go ahead and start the time I'll put the time back into your hands, Vosh, and then I'll let you kind of work it out from there. Okay.
Okay, yeah, I shouldn't take up too much time. I just have a few things to point out that in my opening, I already seeded that, yes, compassion has to come with stigma, with the shame. But the shame is, I believe, a necessary part of the process. Without the shame, without knowing that you've done something either wrong or feel as though it's a shortcoming or you've committed an impropriety, as I listed in the definition, there is no reason to stop the behavior. So without that conscious observation of knowing those things, you're not going to quit, even if you have all the resources in the world. You still have to have that initial push to, hey, this is a reason I need to quit. And as far as like the dopamine cycle that you referred to that keeps people looped in on drugs, the shame spiral, yes, that can definitely be a negative of shame for sure, but the shame is necessary.
Hold on, Vosh. Not sure where Leia went. She just dropped off.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. We'll make sure.
I think she stopped streaming and left. I'm sure she'll be back in a second.
I'm sure, yeah, as soon as she realizes what she did. Hey, Static Age, good to see you. Good to see you. And again, if you guys don't know, Static Age does have his own show. While we've got a minute here, is there anybody else that has their own show in the chat? Doesn't look like anybody else has their own show in the chat. But again, remember the debaters themselves, Static Age show and the debaters, all three. Give them some love when you can. There she is. All right. I'll let you back have the floor.
Well, that I believe I wrapped up if Leia caught the last bit of that. I think the last thing I said was confirming, the dopamine cycle, the shame cycle, spiral downward. Those are all negatives of shame in a discompassionate way. But as I said in my opening, you have to combine compassion with shame, but the shame is still a necessary part.
Okay.
Okay.
You're good. Go ahead. I just want to make sure you were there. But go ahead.
Yes, indeed. I said, I'm so sorry. My laptop took a poo. Things, it's like Murphy's Law today, except Leo's Law, I suppose. Could you repeat for me your answer, Vosh? I'm so sorry.
No, you're okay. I was kind of riffing, but so I was saying that, going back to my opening, where I defined shame is a painful emotion caused by consciousness of guilt, shortcoming, or impropriety.
Thanks for the engagement while I had you.
Without that consciousness and guilt of shortcomings and impropriety, you're not going to have any motivation to end the behavior, to stop doing what you're doing. However, as I also stated in my opening, the compassion has to come with the shame. It can't be shame alone. Shame is a tool in the arsenal. We have to use many things, but I think shame is a requirement.
A requirement. I would almost say, I get where you're coming from, but I would say, if anything, it's the guilt that's a requirement. I feel like it's a little bit different from shame, in my mind at least. I feel like shame is something that's gotten from external sources, which I know that's what you're talking about, right? Is other people shaming the addict in question. But for me, I think it's the guilt and the readiness to make a change because of that feeling of guilt that really helps more than anything. And I just don't see, for example, the stigma. I could see your point with the shame. With the stigma, though,
thank you very much for that.
There really being anything but harm due to stigma. Like, for example, one of the points that I can't quite recall if I got to in my opening was that doctors are less likely to take an addict, even a recovered addict, seriously. Basically, with any complaint, we see this with ER visits and even primary care physicians, right? So, how does the stigma part help?
Well, the stigma part is, as the definition of stigma is, a mark of shame or discredit. The stigma part, if we don't stigmatize the behavior, and that's what I do mean by shame and stigma, is we're not trying to shame or stigmatize the individual. We're trying to shame and stigmatize the behavior. So if they're no longer engaged in the behavior, there should be no stigma involved with that. At least I would argue that. But the stigma of the behavior itself, I think, is a requirement, because otherwise, if there's no stigma, how do you know it's wrong? If there's no shame, which, going back to the definition of shame, caused by consciousness of guilt, shortcoming, or impropriety. Guilt is in the definition. So, yes, feeling guilty, I would agree with that, is more aligned with what we want to see. We want them to have that consciousness of that guilt, but they're not going to get that consciousness of guilt without some level of shame.
I'm not at that. I don't feel that we need particularly shame or even stigma to get these same results. Like I said, for me, it's that the shame comes from outside sources, and I feel as though you said, how would they know it's wrong if we don't tell them? I can tell you, as somebody who's in recovery, I always knew, using drugs and making really stupid decisions because of it was wrong. I really didn't need anybody to tell me, and that inner feeling of guilt that I think kind of comes the minute we hit the age of reason, so to speak, where we realize what we're doing is wrong in the moment of doing it and taking an action, kind of gets us all. And I just haven't seen. Could you give me some data on that? I know that you had your sources that show us that works.
Yeah. Like I referenced in my opening, this has worked with smoking cigarettes. Between the 1960s to today, we've gone from 42% of the U.S. population smoking cigarettes to only 11 to 14% today. And that was done by educating people about the dangers, taxing, which obviously that's going to encourage people not to purchase those things, denormalizing and providing a social stigma to smoking cigarettes. That's essentially what led to the reduction in smoking. So a similar plan where we don't necessarily remove all stigma from the behavior itself. I don't feel like that's going to work. For instance, the only way you can smoke inside of a building anymore is to have a private club. You can't smoke in restaurants. You can't even smoke in bars. And that was due to the stigma, the social stigma, and the shaming of people smoking around people that don't want to be around cigarettes. But without that stigmatization of smoking cigarettes, why would anybody stop? So,
well, I feel like actually,
hang on one second. You said something about you don't think you needed somebody to tell you that it was bad to use drugs. I mean, yeah, to some level, we all had DARE back in the day, so we all did at some point have somebody tell us, "Hey, drugs are bad." Okay. So. Yeah, you did kind of need somebody to tell you that drugs were bad and that it was a bad thing to do. Had nobody ever told you that using drugs was bad, would you know that they were bad?
Well, I think for yes and no, right? Illicit drugs, yes, probably eventually, because it's within society, even among addicts, we see them shame each other, right? And like there's certain drugs that are more acceptable to do than others, like methamphetamine remains and crack remain like the two most judged drugs, even amongst drug addicts themselves. But I think also, I feel like when we're having this conversation, you probably have in your mind, and excuse me if I'm wrong here, but it seems that you have in your mind like the illicit drug user, right? Like the crackhead on the corner or the meth addict down the street. And I know for me personally, my addiction started with a prescription that was legal. And I know that the entire time I had that prescription, even as I was definitely running out sooner than I should have been, even as I was doing shady things not to become ill, etc., etc. I always was able at that point in my life for a while at least, to kind of excuse that away because it wasn't crack, right? Or any number of other things that are illicit substances. It was legal and it was from a doctor. So, like, I'm not like this junkie over here, like, I'm somehow better because I got it from a doctor. So, like, in my mind, would I have known it was wrong if nobody told me in that situation? Perhaps it would have taken longer, and the answer would be no, at least in the short term. But in different situations, I think, talking about just using drugs is one thing, but there's an entire culture around drug addiction that's like having to come up with money, which usually results in crime, being very shady, hiding things from the people closest to you, just being very person of low, I don't want to say moral fiber, but you have a high tolerance for illicit activity. We'll say it like that. And so I feel like when you're engaged in these things, it may not be the drugs themselves, but are like, a product of the environment, if you will. I think you definitely know that's wrong, right? When you lie or when you steal to get drugs, that part's wrong. So nobody would have had to tell me that.
And then
that's fair.
Sorry, I just want to cut in the 5-minute back and forth. So, are we ready for the open floor? Basically, at this point in time, do you guys have anything that you want to clarify at all before we start that?
I kind of feel like we just jumped into that without even realizing.
Yeah,
so,
that's kind of what I was thinking. I wasn't going to necessarily. I don't like interrupting, but anyway, we'll start the hour back and forth. So you just guys go ahead and start whenever you're ready.
Okay.
The floor is yours.
So, like you were saying, you're partially correct in assuming that I'm thinking of illicit drugs as in like harder drugs, but actually incorrect overall. I speak more on the lack of shame surrounding marijuana use, for instance. It used to be incredibly stigmatized. And now we're seeing widespread use all over the country in both legal and illegal states. They're finding ways to create loopholes where people can have marijuana in states where it's illegal. It's just slightly different. There's one molecule off. So as we've seen the stigma surrounding marijuana use lessen and be almost eliminated, we're seeing skyrocketing use. People that wouldn't have tried it before are now trying it, and it's debatable on whether or not that's a good thing. But there are medicinal purposes for it. I will not deny that. But that's mostly what I have in mind, because that is my own experience. Personal anecdote for personal anecdote. That was something that was hard for me to stop using, and I would not have stopped using it were it not for the shame and stigma surrounded by the idea of a father who still smokes marijuana. Like, that's not something that I could handle. I could not accept that about myself, and I refuse to do it anymore. So, fortunately, I had a good enough support system at the time where I was able to just drop it and never pick it up again. But without people telling me that, hey, you shouldn't be doing this, I'd probably still be doing that. And I would not be nearly the man that I am today. And that would be a shame. And I would like that for everyone else. So I'm here to tell everybody, hey, it's not a good idea to do drugs, guys. You should stop doing this.
I can't disagree. Yeah, I can't disagree with that point. I feel if you make a concession, basically, which my argument is that we need compassion, grace, and non-judgmental help, basically, for addicts. If you concede that at least we do also need that, then I think the question becomes, which one is more important, or which one would weigh more into being able to help an addict or help steer someone away from drugs, right? And I feel like, although I do have some opinions on the future generations and how we should teach them about drugs and addiction, which I'm happy to get into shortly, I think that once somebody actually is addicted and they're in that shame spiral and they're in that dark place, that the stigma and the shame that they've already felt. I mean, we see through studies, a few of the ones that I linked in the sources, uh, indeed show that the stigma and the shame is what keeps people out of the rehabs or out of speaking with their doctor. We see that they feel so stigmatized, even by people. One of the stats that I had on screen before my computer went no was that even healthcare professionals stigmatize addicts even when they're seeking recovery resources, as a matter of fact, which is really sad. And I've indeed experienced as well. And I feel like, well, not I feel like, the evidence shows, right, that the shame and the stigma, once they are already addicted, does nothing to help. If anything, it just keeps them away. Whereas compassionate care models, which I know it's like, okay, compassionate care and squishy and feelings, right? But I think in this one situation, that's actually probably the only one I can think of where that's going to succeed more than any type of shame or guilt or stigma.
Yeah, and like I said in my opening, that yeah, we have to pair shame with compassion. I'm not going to deny that compassion is a very necessary component in this. In fact, I think the separation would be we need to be stigmatizing the behavior and not the individual, which I'll probably keep repeating that throughout this. But by shaming the action, we're showing, hey, this is not a good thing to do. Don't do this. But then having compassion for the individual that is addicted and saying, hey, if you're in recovery, we're going to celebrate that. We're going to praise you for that. You should be getting in recovery. You should be doing these things. That's a good thing to do. We're not going to shame you for going into rehab. We're not going to shame you for getting help. We're not going to shame you for needing assistance, but we are going to shame you if you go back to doing it.
I mean, I can't disagree with the point. Definitely, I think shaming the behavior and not the person is a big point here. But I don't really feel like that plays out in our culture and in our society to be the truth of the matter. I feel like when we see addicts, I was going to say addiction, but it really is the addicts being shamed or stigmatized, I don't feel like people really take the time to make that separation, at least as it stands today, right? People just want to kind of brush them aside, which is part of this, spiral that leads to them not wanting to get help. And I know also for the point of preventing drugs, I know you brought up DARE, for example. I have what I guess is kind of a hot take. Who would have thought, right? I don't know if you can hear that. I'm sorry, there's a storm. So I apologize if it's loud. But anyway, I have a bit of a supposedly hot take, which is the fact that I'm not going to hide my past from my kids. A lot of people disagree with that, but I feel like I've analyzed it in my mind, and I've had both a parent who was too honest with me, and that led down a bad path, and a parent who acted as if they had never touched a drop of alcohol in their entire lives and they were just a goody two shoes, and never wanted to have any type of conversation regarding anything illicit, if you will, which made it very difficult to ask for help when the people who I should have been depending on made me kind of feel like an island. And so with my kids, I'm going to teach them, like, I'm not perfect. I've in fact made mistakes, and I did this so that you don't have to make these mistakes. You can learn from my mistakes, right? And I don't feel as if I were to tell them, like, drugs are horrible, people that do them are horrible, just stigma, shame, stigma, shame. Of course, I'm being a wee bit dramatic, but shaming and completely stigmatizing it, at one point, even if logically that could work when they're younger, eventually they're going to grow older and they're going to say to themselves, but wait a minute, if drugs are so horrific and they turned your life upside down and you hate the person you become, why did you do them to begin with? Why did you relapse after you had gotten clean? Like, what about that? Which is the place I got to with my opposite parent, we'll say. And I was thinking to myself, like, there's something left out here, right? There's a grain, a modicum, if you will, of dishonesty about just drugs generally and using drugs that I feel is kind of important to the conversation. And if you don't show that honesty and that compassion, and you only show the shame and the stigma, or even prevalently, right? I know you say we must combine them, and to a point, to a degree, I agree. But if it isn't like compassion first, like 80%, and just maybe 20% shame, um, I don't think that it would also work to steer people away from drugs in the short term, like kids,
I
young.
I think that doesn't hold up over current examples. For instance, alcohol use in the Zoomer generation is down significantly from previous generations. I don't know what the numbers are on that specifically right now, but it's something that's been marked on by mainstream media several times. Everyone's wondering, why aren't they drinking? Why aren't they partying? Why aren't they doing this stuff? Why aren't they engaged in lots of premarital sex like previous generations? And I think that's due to the stigma that their peers put on them, the shame that their peers put on them to not engage in those behaviors. And I think that's the most important piece of shame. If your peers are pressuring you not to do these things, that's the important part, because you're going to listen to your peers more than you listen to, like, say, your parents. Another anecdotal example of my own is, and for their privacy, I won't say exactly who, but somebody that was important to me that I looked up to my entire life told me about their experience doing substances, smoking marijuana, doing psychedelics, and told me, yeah, they know it's bad. They know it's not good for you. But in my mind, I went, well, if it's so bad, how did you turn out like this? How did you turn out so well? So it seemed almost like a lie to me. Like, clearly they're not as bad as you're suggesting they are. So perhaps it's acceptable for me to experiment. And that led me down a path that led to a lot of degeneracy. So I see where you're going with the plan for how to teach your kids, but I would say be cautious, because I know your kids are probably going to be very smart. So hopefully they don't think the way that I do, and think that incorrectly.
Well, thank you. So I am very careful. I had an argument with a family member who I also won't name recently about this, and I was like, listen, this is kind of I'm not going to lay it all out, but like, this is my plan. I've thought very deeply about this. I've spoken to my spiritual advisors and my sponsor. Like, it's not something that I just kind of came to one day, so it's definitely something that I've thought out and long and hard about. But I think at the end of the day, this model is very much the compassionate care model is one of the biggest reasons my attitude is what it is toward um, my recovery generally, the way I want to speak to them in the future, etc. I feel like I finally found a support system, a doctor eventually, who was willing to help me, went to a rehab, etc., etc. Ended up in a halfway house. It was the whole nine. I did all the things, and the reason that it worked that particular time, well, there was a few reasons. For one, God came back in, or I sought God. God never left my life. Let me rephrase. And stopped trying to do things on my own, which is a huge step in recovery as well. And that's one of the reasons I'm also not ashamed to talk about my recovery or even my addiction today, is because it helped make me who I am. And I feel like the compassionate model that I met going through this most recent and final, praise God, recovery mission, I think a lot of the reason that stuck also, which again anecdotal, was because I had been through all these other models that basically did shame and did stigmatize and had almost a model for failure built into them, that I never was also able to have that faith in myself. Like I showed this process of relapse and spoke earlier to the fact that I don't like the phrase relapse is part of recovery, which a lot of people say. I actually don't believe in that, and that's another reason I also don't call myself a recovering drug addict. Almost 9 years now, I've been clean. I'm recovered from that hopeless state of mind that made me an addict. But all these things kind of changed this last time, and it was because there was a very frank and honest conversation. Definitely no, like, I'm going to cushion you with lies and BS, but it was also very compassionate and caring and made me feel like I could do that. And so, as someone who's been through it, through both scenarios, if you will, and multiple times, with the shame and stigma for sure, this past time was my fourth rehab, I want to say. And like I said, even within rehabs, a lot of times you find people very stigmatizing and shameful toward addicts. So just anecdotally, I know personally that it works that way, and the data says so. So I don't know. That's just kind of what I'm forced to believe, even if it is a combination of the two, which I might concede that we do need some element of both, possibly. Even if so, I think that the compassion is still the bigger winner there, because you could have the compassion without the shame, and at least some people are going to be able to heal through that, like the stronger amongst us or the more stubborn amongst us. But I feel like if you only had the shame with no compassion, hardly anyone's going to succeed in that model.
Yeah, and I wouldn't disagree. I'm not advocating for nothing but shame. That would be silly. Like you said, the data does bear out that compassionate care in recovery works, and yeah, 100% in agreement there. But I do still think that stigma and shaming for the behavior itself is a necessary piece. I don't necessarily think it's as heavy on the compassion as you do. I don't agree there. I think it really is an even split, 50-50. I don't think you can do one without the other, because again, without the shame, without the stigma that's been put on these things that have been shown to be damaging to us, what purpose would we have if we felt no guilt, if we felt if we did not feel as though we were engaged in an impropriety by the definition of shame? There would be no reason to quit. There would be no motivation to get clean and sober. So I do think that's a very necessary component. But at the same time, I think we need to treat recovering addicts in the same way as, like, reference you'll get is the prodigal son. Like, the son goes away and is doing his own thing, living in sin, and then he comes back home and says, I have been wrong. Please welcome me back in. And the father celebrates. Yes, we should be absolutely celebrating people that are getting clean and stopping their addiction and doing whatever they can. Yeah, there will be hiccups, and they'll go away again. And then when they come back, we go, yes, awesome, great, you're doing a good job.
Yeah, so, I definitely see your point there. Were you done? I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Okay, I see your point, and again, just a little piece of anecdote. I definitely have also lived that as someone who, definitely the one perfect quote unquote side of my family I would completely isolate from anytime I had a relapse, and they would always know, because it would be the same, thing of events where it's like I don't take a phone call and then I don't see them for a week, and then if you've had an addict in your life, you know how that goes. And I feel like within that quote unquote perfect side of my family, right, there were several people that were shameful and, like, stigmatizing, and even if it was with a side of, like, I still love you, but, right, it was still hard to come back as that prodigal daughter, as it were, right? Was that these statements and this shaming and this stigmatizing, even if it was the behavior, kind of like the point I made earlier, it's kind of hard to separate that behavior from the person, for one, and for two, because of the lifestyle being so entrenched, the behavior kind of consumes you when you are in active addiction. Like, just a quick rundown of someone's day when they're in active addiction, of course, depending on how functional, quote unquote, they are of an addict, would be literally their entire day, morning to night, whenever they go to sleep, would be finding a way to get well, getting well, maybe getting high. Like, there was, especially for people who didn't work, or in a time in my life for a few months when I didn't work, when I was in relapse, nothing really in my day but the hunt and the use of drugs. And so I think it's kind of hard when you get to that level to really separate that behavior, because it feels like it's all you are, because it consumes you. It consumes your entire day and night. It consumes your entire thought process. And so at that point, even shaming the behavior, just the behavior by itself, I'm so sorry, still feels like shaming you as a person. So.
True. I can definitely agree with that. From my own experience, yeah, I have experienced that as well, where it feels like they're not shaming what I'm doing, they're shaming me as a person. Oh, they hate me as a person, not they hate what it is that I'm doing. They hate what I'm choosing to do. And yeah, that might be difficult for the individual to filter out and realize, hey, no, they're not shaming me. They don't hate me. They hate what I'm doing. But I think it can be easy for the person who is trying to explain to somebody, hey, what you're doing here is not good for you. You really need to stop. I think it can be very easy for them to, well, especially for Christians, to say, hey, this is your sin. You're sinning by being engaged in this behavior. I don't hate you. I still love you, and I always love you. You're always welcome back, but you need to stop this behavior. And I don't think it can be separated in like a necessity, in a necessity scale. Like you said, you think 80% compassion, 20% stigma. I really strongly believe it's a 50-50 split, and I kind of think we're pretty much in agreement, like we anticipated before. We just disagree on degrees. We both accept that compassion is also a necessary part. I think I have convinced you that shame is also necessary, because without, even you admit, that feeling of guilt, which is a part of shame, without that feeling of guilt, there would be no motivation to stop engaging in the behavior.
Are you done? I don't want to interrupt. Okay, thank you. That I was gonna point out earlier as well, because you said there would be no motivation to change without that shame feeling. While I feel like that's definitely the top or the biggest reason to change, is that like internal cognitive dissonance of like, I want to be a good person and not do drugs, and like, here I'm doing a whole bunch of drugs, and that like competing with each other, right? I think there's also many factors to want to change, right? Whether it's people around you, your friends, your family, and you're a Christian, you do believe in God, and you want to do better with your life, career goals, the physical toll it takes on your body. I mean, I did irreversible damage to my body in many ways when I was using that. I'll never be able to fix now, or no matter how healthy I tried to be, I could never really undo certain things that I've done to myself, and that's not me specific. That is very common amongst addicts, that you wear your health down little by little over time, worse and worse. And also the being dope sick, if you will, or having symptoms of withdrawal. That's the worst part. It's one of the things that keeps addicts in active addiction, is that the fear of being sick. And it's not even always the physical symptoms as much as that post-acute withdrawal that I talked about. That's just basically like a severe depression on crack, like only a little bit of a pun intended. It's like you take all that pleasure center goodness that the drugs were giving you and you rip it off your brain all at the same time, and it kind of sends you into a state of shock. And I feel like when we're in that state as well, and we're already incredibly sensitive, right? I know nobody would want to admit that, surely, but when we're possibly already sensitive, if you look at the type of behavior that would help you stay in recovery, we know by the data that, and to me, it would seem this part at least is common sense. I feel like you wouldn't even disagree with this part at least, that it's a spiral or a cycle, if you will. So you do this thing, you feel ashamed. Well, if you go into recovery and you are then shamed, not only does it feel that level of like, ooh, ow, that hurts, but then there also begins to be in your mind this this kind of thought process of, well, I was using drugs and I was shamed for that, right? So then I decided that I was going to get clean and take my life back. And now I'm getting shamed for that too. Like, I can't win for losing. So if I'm going to be shamed in recovery, why not just be shamed and get high? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense, which is why we've got to combine the compassion with the shame. But yeah, speaking of spirals, I think we keep going around in circles. So maybe
trying to get you down from your
maybe
50-50.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen because I think both are equally necessary. You talk about not needing the shame from people outside. Well, shame from yourself is still shame. Like, you realize that it's damaging you, and all the things that people said to you that were warning you against doing this action are actually true.
You're right.
That's guilt by the definition of shame. That's guilt. You're going to feel that, and you feel the guilt from the shame. So yeah, I think 100% of the time the shame is a necessary component for motivating somebody to get clean. And yeah, we both definitely agree that compassion is a very necessary component to recovery, because without that compassion, like you said, if I'm going to get shamed for doing drugs and I'm going to get shamed for trying to get clean, why bother? Why bother?
Right.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
we 100% agree on that.
So I am curious. I know that it is kind of an odd prompt, but is there any statistics that we can point toward for any side? I know that we kind of pointed towards smoking, but is there anything that we can point toward? Because you'd mentioned that we're kind of going in circles trying to see if we can maybe grab a hold of something here.
well, sure. I had the sources I had already set, and I had a few of the screenshots of them. I can go and check on my laptop here in a second as well, because it's had time to kind of cool down, so it might be chilled out when it overheated. That's what happened. But yeah, we see that in the compassionate care model, the study, the Shatterproof Index of Stigma, Shatterproof Stigma Index. When they did their metadata analysis, it was like, I think 3,000 people over like 11 different studies. It was very in depth, and the methodology, in my opinion, is actually pretty impressive for the soft sciences, medicine, but like questionably soft sciences. And it shows that of people who entered recovery and were successful for at least 18 months, I think it was, that like 64% of them, I want to say, it was on one of the little graphics that I showed, it was like 64% of them said that shame had prevented them from getting clean before, and more than 50, like 52 or something like that, percent said that shame had even driven them out of a recovery space, whether that be like an NA meeting or a rehab or something like that. So we see time and time again in these studies that it says, look, here are the raw numbers. This is how shame actually hurts recovery. And and also to combat the idea of the smoking. Were you about to say something, Tater?
No, you're good. You're good. I was just one of the people in the chat says that they're 3 years sober, so I was just giving the shout out for that. Yeah, hell yeah.
Absolutely. Praise God.
Praise God.
We
Exactly.
love that.
Anyway, sorry, go
Love
ahead.
that for you. No, don't ever apologize for shouting out sobriety. We love that. But yeah, to combat the idea of smoking and drinking that you brought up, as a matter of fact, I was thinking on that as well for a second. And when it comes to the smoking, I feel like as we have, well, for one, there's no positive propaganda, right? Because before we see that they came out, Philip Morris and the like, but mostly Philip Morris, got sued, and they had to start putting warnings out, and they had to stop telling doctors to prescribe. I still can't believe that was a thing in history, but whatever. To prescribe cigarettes, right? There was ads everywhere, whether it's on TV, whether it's in magazines, and even like the drug pamphlets you would get at your doctor, because the doctor's office was a huge place. They would push cigarettes, and they were paying doctors to tell people that smoking was not only not harmful, but would help you. It's just so wild. But anyway, so we had that. We
Yeah,
had
it's
all
an
this
expectorant to help you cough.
right. That between H and cigarettes back then, it was a wild time to be alive, I'm sure. Just crazy, right? And they wonder why all the housewives are angry by 6 o'clock. Anyway,
I think that
we
was
had-
the same time period where they were prescribing cocaine to get rid of the ghosts in your blood.
Right.
Yeah.
no, not one. And H, they had actual H. I don't want to say the whole drug. In like cough syrups and other things. So just absolutely crazy. But we did see this huge push of positive propaganda, which is, I'm sure, if you were to look at your like a timeline of your study or your information, that we start to see a pretty sharp drop off right after they like Philip Morris got sued and everything. Maybe not directly after, because like plenty of people know that smoking could kill them. Even God forbid, like I have watched somebody die a painful death because of smoking and still decide, nah, I like to smoke. Like, we all have this information, so I would not doubt that it might take a while to see those numbers start to drop, or at least drop dramatically, but we surely would see a drop off after that, right? Because there's no more positive propaganda, and after a time, they began to tell them, like, JK, actually smoking could give you cancer. Who knew? Like, we never knew this information. Anyway. And so, of course, once we start finding this out, there will be people that quit. And as far as, sorry, I'm not trying to, as far as the drinking, I think there are contributing factors. COVID, a huge one of them. I just read a study the other day that said COVID cut home delivery even of liquor sales, like wine to your front door sales, by like 50%. Because the majority of people that are not alcoholics are social drinkers. It's like 89% or something like that.
Right.
So, sorry.
Yeah, no, and I would like to quickly apologize for that slight TOS issue. Whoops. Kind of hard to avoid certain words with the topic that we're discussing.
Yeah, I noticed that after we started. I was like, crap,
better.
I might have to take this one down, but we'll work with it.
Yeah.
When I get monetized, I might just member only it, but until then, I'll just say it and just leave it up. Anyway, you guys can go ahead.
Right. No, and you're absolutely right. The numbers bear out that in the 1960s, before all that information came out, it was only 4 years into the 60s when that came out, and it immediately started dropping. So, yeah, as soon as we started to stigmatize smoking by putting out the information saying that it was bad for you and saying, hey, if you do this, you're going to get sick and die, potentially. Yeah, we did start seeing the numbers decrease after we started to stigmatize it and shame people for doing it. And the more we see, the more shame around smoking that we see, the less people are smoking.
But is that stigma thing?
I mean, yeah.
Like the education
would that not
part
be,
of it?
Yes, educating people that it is bad for you. If you're being told that it's bad for you, that it's going to shorten your lifespan, you're probably going to feel guilty for participating in that activity. To some degree, whether it's enough guilt for you to stop doing it, remains to be seen. But again, that shame is a necessary component. And in contrast, like I said in my opening, was talking about which state was it? Oregon. Yeah, Oregon's Measure 110 back in 2020 that decriminalized small amounts of hard drugs. They had, within 1 year span, a 23% increase in unintentional overdoses. So we see that when we do remove the stigma, the problem gets worse, not better. So the stigma is, I would say, that kind of proves that stigma is a necessary component to discouraging people from using these things.
I would say to that, although I don't disagree with your points, I feel like you are granting yourself the label of stigma or shame, where it might not always be. I mean, if we're going to play semantics, but semantics are important, right? Where it may not always be completely fair. Like you're saying that educating people about the health risks is stigmatizing, but I would argue that that's really just educating. Like, yes, if you were to phrase it a certain way, like only people who don't care about their kids will smoke cigarettes or eat 3 pieces of cake at night, that would be shame or stigma. But them having, like Philip Morris, for example, having to put a warning on cigarettes that says, like, hey, these could kill you, but, like, the decision's up to you, and don't mind that we just had 20 years of positive propaganda. Like, I wouldn't consider that shame, for example. And then you had just said, with your second example of, what was your second example? My mind just, like, totally pooped about shame.
Oregon's Measure 110.
Thank you. I am sorry. The storm is really
you're good.
But we also see this with like areas like Philadelphia that have the like open air markets, rug with a D markets, right, where people are literally just getting high on the streets and cops are there and they can't even do anything about it. We definitely see that increases use, increases deaths. That's not, in my opinion, even up for discussion at this point. I couldn't disagree with that if I wanted to, in good conscience at least. But again, I don't think that that's a shame or a stigma issue as much as a consequence issue. It's because using and even selling and buying rugs with a D became either legal or non-criminalized in that area. We see the same thing with corn and prostitution with a P in places like Las Vegas, right? Of course, when it's decriminalized, what happens? We get a bunny ranch, right? And many, many media companies that set up to make it. And so this is the same type of thing that we see where if you wanted to argue that criminalization or that heavier legal consequences could help people get clean. Although, again, I'd still have the same argument when you're addicted, you're going to do what you want to do. That would be a whole different argument. I still don't feel like that goes back to the roots of the shame or the stigma as much as the consequences for your actions, if it's legal or illegal or healthy or not healthy. I don't feel like that's either compassionate or stigmatizing. It's just honest.
I can see that. However, this is exactly why I was careful to directly define shame and stigma in my opening. So is there anything about the definition: a painful emotion caused by consciousness of guilt, shortcoming, or impropriety? So,
no, shame?
Like you're saying, that's shame, and stigma is a mark of shame or discredit. So it's a little bit redundant back to shame. They're both,
right.
They go hand in hand. But with that definition, yes, I would say even educating people about the dangers of smoking cigarettes or the dangers of drinking to excess, that would be included in shame. So you're saying that educating someone on the dangers of smoking shows that they have a shortcoming, like they're not engaged in healthy behaviors. That would be a shortcoming. Or they feel guilty for having done that. That would be shame because of the things that they were educated on. That would be shame. If there's anything about that definition that you disagree with, though, I'm willing to hear you out. But otherwise, I kind of feel like you have to concede a little bit.
No, I have made several concessions. I'm not just being stubborn. The definition itself, I won't quibble over. That sounds fair to me. I had a definition, but we'll go with yours. That's fine. But I feel uh, like the example I gave before. Um, well, let's say we go back to the data and we see that some of the questions that were asked were in this huge metadata study of thousands of people were like, did society or your family or medical institutions make you feel as though your addiction was a moral failing or shortcoming? Because that's been not only kind of the prevailing idea in the ethos of our culture, but it's also, as I spoke about with history and the act that basically locked up addicts and said doctors legally could not treat them, which again is kind of wild. We see that this is actually the way that they're treated. Just societally and on an interpersonal level. And we see that none of that helped, right? We see, kind of like you're speaking about quitting smoking or social drinking, for example, in the past few years, we directly have this data point that correlates with the compassionate care model after 68, I believe it was. And I can resend these sources so that Tater can link them as well in the description, and make sure that people can check those for themselves. But I believe it was 1968, and we see a drastic, maybe not drastic, a very positive drop off of addiction until the past few years, just kind of steadily, like over time, keeps dropping and keeps dropping, which shows me that as we are implementing this compassionate care model more and more, because this is definitely something that we're continuing to educate both the public and medical care professionals in. Um, and as we keep implementing that, keep educating people and kind of proving to them through data and through anecdotes and through personal experience, etc., that this compassionate care model actually works and actually keeps people clean, that we see those recovery numbers keep going up, and those until the last few years with the dent with an F anyway, things like ODs go down, and sadly, that dent with a fee or a fee an F has made deaths skyrocket, which is heartbreaking. But up until then, we see a sharp incline. We were seeing decreases like year over year. So I feel like if anything, that kind of proves the compassionate care model, because we can see that it's not been more stigmatized, where compassion has been brought in more.
Yes, and like I said, that's where we agree. The compassionate care model does work. You need compassion for people who are in recovery. You need compassion for people that are trying to fix the issue. You don't want to continue to shame them when they're in recovery. That only hurts them. 100% agreement. But without that shame in the first place, there's no reason to go into recovery. If you don't feel that guilt, if you don't feel, by the definition of shame, if you are not conscious of your guilt or shortcoming or your impropriety, there's no reason to stop with the behavior. So I think ultimately the shame is a necessary component. Now, we've been talking about addicts for the majority of this, but I think a much more important conversation is the preventing people from getting on it in the first place. So with the more shame that we see on these substances, the less beginner use that we're seeing. So with more shame comes less usage. So to prevent people getting addicted in the first place is far better than helping them recover. Like, yes, we do need to worry about their recovery as well. Absolutely important. We should care about those people. We should show them the love of God, and welcome their return back to the land of sobriety. But we would prefer they not do it in the first place. So, yeah, I think we should shame it up. Drugs are bad, okay?
I was just thinking that, because you said that earlier too, and I know you're obviously joking, right? But I feel like when we have that kind of a model, like this dare model, like we both kind of mentioned, it kind of becomes a meme, right? Because I feel like we both mentioned dare, but it certainly didn't do anything for me or the many people I
Same.
went to school with, you know? Like it didn't really teach me much. And I think a large part of the reason is because they never did anything but drugs are bad, okay? This is all the ways they're bad. They're gonna ruin your life and you're gonna die and it's gonna be horrible. And when it's that much like doom and gloom and stigma, if you will, it kind of becomes a meme in and of itself, right? Whereas I
Yep.
think a better way than to just shame and stigmatize, personally, because we've seen that, in my opinion, not work. Oh, well, not just my opinion, the data system, but just saying. I think also one thing that we could do would be a very honest, frank conversation, kind of like I was talking about with my own personal kids, and this is kind of what we see borne out in the data as well, is that when children are, um, which I'll once again point this study out, but I think it was the second study that I linked forever ago in the chat, from the NIH, that
NIH.
yes, you know that children who were put into very basic neutral drug education programs, which are very like, look, this is what this rug with a D does. It causes euphoria, and you could stay up for 3 days if you really want to. Like this is the positive, basically, of just one time using this could be, and this is all the downfalls. You could die, all that on the other side. That, but not quite so dramatic. These very moderate, neutral education programs, which again, I was, arguing before that education doesn't equal stigma, like with the smoking campaigns, for example, and that these children who are exposed to these had like a 70% success rate of not, by the time they were 18 anyway, being on any type of hard drugs with a D, which I think is, pretty impressive. I know most of the people that I knew, for example, in school, were definitely doing rugs with a D before 18. So I feel like if we could get 60 or 70% of all high school classes to their senior graduation without trying rugs with a D, maybe we could get them closer to making it through college and then adulthood, without doing it.
Yep, and I don't disagree with you at all. I think a more honest education about the effects of the substances is a better way to go. Like I said, with my own personal experience, I thought, oh, it's not as bad as I was led to believe. Yes, there are these somewhat negative effects, but I can still use it and be responsible and do the things that I need to do to get by and still have a good time with this substance. And that's the trap. So you're right, if we're not honest about everything and just try to 100% just say no, never, everything about it is evil and wrong, yeah, that's too far. Because that's not going to work. Like you said, it's going to become a meme, and then people are going to do it just to spite you. So no, again, we're 100% in agreement there. But you still need that stigma to prevent people from doing it in the first place. Like it may not be, it is a matter of degrees perhaps, but you still do need that stigma to discourage the use in the first place.
I mean, from society as a whole, like that type of stigma, just the outside pressure of, like you were saying, making it kind of unacceptable to be addicted to drugs. Is that more what you mean in this particular instance, or with this conversation?
Especially, like I said, shame and stigma are more effective from your peers than they are from a generation above or below you. Well, at least above. So that outside pressure of your peers pressuring you to not do these things, that is the most effective type of shame. And like I said, we can see that with Gen Z in both their sexual activity and their substance use. So yeah, I again think it's a necessary component. We might disagree on degrees, but it is a necessary component.
Well, I think I
At
also
least
was kind of
by the
coming at it
definition.
the dictionary. No, and I do agree with your definition. I don't dispute it as well.
It is straight from Webster, so
We love that. Not what is that website?
not Urban
You
Dictionary.
know the one. You know the one. Oh, that's great. But no, I think when I came at it kind of like I came at it looking from a clinical perspective, like mostly from the side of recovery, admittedly, but I did have the one study about younger kids and prevention, but mostly from the side of recovery, from a place of like a clinician, a doctor, a rehab worker, for example. And so the majority of the data that I've gathered and just time I've spent as well have come from kind of that side of things. I think that there could definitely be an argument to be made that from outer society as a whole, because also you've got to think about the authoritative bias. You know, if a doctor shames you, it might feel a little more icky than if your society or your peers, like you said, shame you, or it might feel a little less icky. It might feel like you don't care because they're just some doctor, right? It depends person to person. Whereas I feel like there has to be, for people to accept the help, there has to be compassion forward. And I don't really think that there's, in the clinical setting, rehabs, doctors, halfway houses, etc. I don't really think there's a place for shame, which is why I'm like, you're like, I think we're in agreement. I'm like, maybe
Yeah,
not quite so much.
we are definitely in agreement on that. When it comes to the professionals that are engaged in helping these people, yeah, you're absolutely right. There is no room for shame. But from society as a whole, yeah, we should be shaming the behavior, not shaming the individuals. Like we as a whole need to be shaming the behavior that is destructive to them and society as a whole, but also being compassionate and saying, yes, you are great for seeking assistance with ending this behavior, and we are here to support you to end this behavior.
That might have been a clarification I thought we had a pretty good prompt. Maybe that was a clarification we should have made, because I know I was attacking it completely from a clinical angle, and you weren't going to get me down from not being. I was like, no, I'm never going to pay back.
Yeah, no,
Helps.
There's no way to argue that shame helps in a clinical setting, because, like you said, the data is very clear. It's very clear. There is no room for shame in a clinical setting, and I will cede that if you will cede that shame is a necessary component.
A component, yes. Yeah, I will also see that. I feel like that's fair.
So I think we came out 50-50 split by the end of this.
So debate done. I'm just kidding.
Was that
it? We have about what are we sitting at? About 8.5 minutes left on the timer. Do we want to get into closers, or do you want to go for the last 8 minutes? I food's ready, so I was just about to step away to eat, but it's 8 minutes and that's not enough time to eat. So I didn't want to necessarily step away and then have you guys just like trailing on. So I wanted to figure out what you guys wanted to do before I do what I'm going to do.
Do you want to do quick closing statements?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely down with that. I feel like I kind of already suspected, as you did as well, that we were going to majority be in agreement for a lot of this. So I wasn't really expecting to have too much, like hostile back and forth. So yeah, I feel like that's
fair. No blood sports this time. Sorry, audience.
Right?
We were very nice to each other. I apologize.
Too nice. I'm just kidding. All right, so you guys want to do your closing statements? Then is that what I'm gathering?
Yeah. And did you want to go first, or am I first on?
It would be the negative in the first on the closer. So it would be what? Leigha would be the negative.
Oh, you're roboting.
Am I? What
no,
the hell?
Yeah, it would be me, because you went first.
Stupid roboting. Anyway, go ahead whenever you're ready, Leigha.
Okay, well, thank you, of course, again, Vosh, for coming, and Tater for hosting, and everybody for coming into the chat to say hi. I know it wasn't too contentious, but I think that we've had a a good back and forth, and I think it's always very nice to come to a middle ground. I feel like there's not a lot of debates that I watch that actually end up with, okay, I concede, okay, I concede, okay, we're in a place of agreement. That's pretty rare, and I feel like that's a nice place to get to. And I feel like I, my main point of the clinical side, you know, basically having no place for shame, I feel like I've proven pretty well. And as we saw, I also will make the concession that shame and stigma could, from an outside, societal standpoint, benefit. And I am totally down with shaming. Anybody that knows me knows I'm totally up for shaming most degenerate types of behavior. And if the data bore out and we could prove and see that shame and stigma did help addicts, I would be totally down with that too, whether or not I've experienced addiction or not. Anecdotally, personally, if I were to find out, like, okay, yes, it does help, 100%, then I would be for that as well, because I do want to help people come to God and out of addiction. Only a few percent, 2%, I believe it is, make it out alive. So we want to do everything we can to up those numbers. But yeah, I think it's been a great conversation, and I greatly appreciate it. I'll see the rest of my time.
Seating the rest of your time. Okay. Just only about 2 minutes is all you took there, but perfect. Vosh, whenever you're ready.
I'm afraid I won't be taking up too much time on mine either, but because like we both predicted, we did end up agreeing on most things. Then we disagreed. We do, I think, still disagree on the degree that shame is necessary. But it was a nice concession that yes, in fact, shame is helpful to help people stay off of substances and helps addicts recover. So by that definitional reason, I do feel like I won the debate on a technical level. But seeing as we came across this from two different angles, you speaking strictly on the clinical aspect and me focusing more on the societal pressure of shame, I would say that yes, from the stance you were coming at, shame is not helpful. Shame does not help with that. So had we stuck to just clinical or just societal, there would be a more clear victor. But I'm really glad that we got to have this conversation. I think it'll help a lot of other people figure out where they're at and hopefully help people get into recovery. And when they do, I will be here to cheer them on because that's how we help. So thank you, Leigha, again for this. It was a great experience. Phenomenal. I had a blast for my first debate. And again, thank you, Tater, for hosting and moderating, which you did a hell of a job, especially there when you got us to stop going around in a circle. Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Thank you, everybody.
Right on. I appreciate that, Vosh. And that closes out the debate. So I did have a couple of questions from the audience. So let's see. Birds aren't even real. He had one that said, do they think that rehab should be different for men to women, young to old, and what that change the shame level would be needed? And would that change, if I could read, would that change the shame level needed on that one?
Actually, I think that's a really great question. And I think a rehab facility focused more on men's recovery would potentially actually benefit from some shame in a clinical setting.
That's fair.
Maybe so. I feel... Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, as far as age ranges goes, I'm not sure there. I don't think I have an opinion.
Fair.
It is a great question. As far as being separated, segregated, if you will, by age and by gender, this kind of already happens, at least by age. Not so much kind of by gender, but not really, because usually what will happen in most rehab settings is there will be one standing building and two, say, hallways or two sides of the building, one for men and one for women, right? And you would think that would be good enough. However, when you get a bunch of people together that are like feeling feelings for the first time in many years, or even a decade, some of them, and having lots of feelings, and seeing maybe pretty girls that for the first time are like doing their makeup and giving a shit about how they look for the first time in a decade, or at least several years, and guys that are like, doing same minus the makeup. Things happen. People sneak out, they pass notes, and it very easily can become, and I've seen it myself in rehabs, this thing of like, well, I'm going to hook up with this person, and relationships begin. And when you're early in recovery, one of the worst things you could do is date someone who is also early in recovery. It is almost a surefire way to relapse. And so these relationships that begin in rehabs, which are not uncommon, are by nature harmful to your sobriety. So standalone buildings on, say, a campus, more like a college. If we were to have rehabs more like a college campus, where it's men on one side, women on the other, and within that, buildings that further break it down, I think that would be an amazing idea, because I see oftentimes the generational divides within people in recovery also becomes a problem. Everything from our vernacular, our cultural references, to the way we were taught about drugs and the way we were taught about recovery is different. And so when you can kind of focus your energy and effort on those smaller groups, I feel like you have a better chance at success.
That's fair.
Yeah, and to kind of piggyback on that, I would go so far as to say they shouldn't be in the same facility, men and women, because of that exact issue of men seeing pretty women for the first time and having emotions for the first time in a while, and likewise women going through the same thing, seeing attractive guys, and two people in recovery getting together usually find that 13th step, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think having them separated more completely, like one side of the building or the other, is a great start, but you're still going to have
Oh no, I'm
people
saying different
that
buildings.
Oh, you're
Totally
saying different buildings, but
Yeah.
are these buildings next to each other?
Well, within they don't have to be. Shoot, put them a mile apart. I was saying for like employee convenience, I guess you could say, that it could be set up kind of like a college campus, where even on a college campus, some of the buildings are a block apart, some are half a mile apart, depending on the college campus.
Yeah. No, I can see that. I think the more separation, the better, because you're
Sure.
taking a group of people that have just come from a life of doing whatever it takes to get that next fix, and putting them somewhere where access to something that they want is just a jailbreak away.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very true.
Right on. Was that the end of what you had for that question then?
Yeah,
I think I prattled long enough.
Okay. The next question from Heaven Maxed is to lower PDF, do you shame them or give them a loving approach? One harms a child. This current topic harms the user. They're both illegal and harmful behaviors.
There is only one prescription for PDFs, and that is millstone around the neck and into the sea.
Yep,
right.
like the biblical prescription.
Yeah, no compassion there. No compassion whatsoever there. None.
All right.
For two reasons. Just real quick, for two reasons. Number one, obviously they, in my opinion, they don't deserve compassion. I know people who are better Christians than me would probably say everyone does, and Jesus is the one to judge. But as far as I'm concerned, Jesus is the only one that can judge, or God. So I'll arrange the meeting and help you out, homie, because I have nothing for you. That's just my personal opinion. But also because we see that it doesn't help. We see that compassion and like these programs that they have to try and chemically castrate and like counsel these people do not help. They reoffend always 100% of the time. Well, almost 100% of the time, no matter what you do. So at this point, I mean, the data bears out that they are almost guaranteed to reoffend. So off with their heads. And I don't think that that's the same because obviously,
Yeah,
the drug addict mainly hurts.
Completely
himself.
different subject there. Okay, so the next question.
Real quick, she mentioned, it might be more Christian to have compassion, but I completely disagree because even God gives us the very prescription that I suggested, saying that would be better for them than for him to get his hands on them. So yes, that would be showing compassion.
All right, so the next question.
You win that round.
Next question is from Mr. B. Question for Vosh: if all stems are a soup and not all soups are stems, is chili a soup or a stew, or is it its own thing? You all conceded to each other. I didn't have a question on topic.
Yeah, it all depends on the water content. If it's mostly your ingredients and not so much water, it's a stew. And if there's significantly more water than there's ingredients, then it's a soup. Easy peasy.
Oh my gosh. What are you talking about? We could debate this next week, maybe. No. If you eat it with cornbread or muffins, it is a stew. If you eat it with crackers or like chicken or something else that you throw in there that's substantial, it's a soup. That's how you tell.
So if I eat chicken noodle soup with some cornbread, it's now a stew?
Well, no. Let me rephrase. Okay, all right. It's fair point. Fair play. Let me rephrase. If by nature it is meant to be eaten with cornbread, say like potato soup or beef stew, right? Or potato stew, pardon. Then it's a stew, okay?
You didn't already know this, Homestead?
That's fair. No, you are correct. There is oh god, I can't think of it. Like a chuck roast in a pot roast, or a pot roast in a crock pot, cooking with like potatoes.
And I saw that as
dyslexic
tool, just stew, by the way. Calling me a tool, jeez.
Yes, but it's more of a soupy consistency.
It is a soupy consistency, but it is a stew. So my original statement would be proven incorrect automatically. So
that's funny. Heaven Max does follow up on his question. He says, follow up for both: compassion doesn't help, shame and consequences does. Why do you apply shame to one and not the other on that one? So that's interesting.
Well, I just showed with, I don't know if he was here for openers when I actually had my information up, but I'm also happy to link. I know he's in the Discord, and I will send the links again in the little debate side chat, because I've proven. I mean, even Vosh conceded, like, okay, here's 3 studies full of evidence that in fact shame and stigma in the clinical setting absolutely do not help and in fact harm in almost 100% of cases. Of course, there's always outliers. So at least in that case, no, shame and stigma don't help. In fact, they do the opposite. They keep people from recovery, keep them in the shame cycle and shame spiral that keeps them using drugs.
Sure.
Yeah, like we said during the debate, if I'm going to get shamed for using drugs and I'm going to get shamed for seeking help, I'm just going to keep doing drugs.
Fair.
Yep, precisely.
I want to say there was another one I saw. Where was it? Maybe I'm wrong. Okay, so let's see. We have 22 minutes left. Do you guys want to go back and forth, or do we just want to open up the panel at this point in time?
Yeah, we can open up
the panel if you'd like. We were kind of spinning our wheels there at one point.
Right.
Trying to find ways to pick each other apart. So we'll spare the audience.
Right. I hear you there. Again, if anybody in the chat would like to join, I will be opening the panel. We'll go ahead and open it up. If you'd like to join the panel, you just have to join the Discord. You will have to react to the emoji in the rules page before you can see any of my server, because the bots have been absolutely crazy lately. And once you get in there, yeah, right. Once you get in there, you'll go into the Vader. Anyway, the
Hater
tater talk. Well, Homestead was calling me a dyslexic tool earlier, so I had to live up to the name, right? Oh no, she said dyslexic too. My bad. No. Anyway, you will go to the Tater Talks vetting room, in which you will talk to my lovely assistant and mod, Homestead Wench, and she will get you vetted to be able to join the panel. Anyone is welcome to join. If you start spurging out or being disruptive, I'll go ahead and kick you. I don't have a problem with muting you if absolutely have to. I avoid that at all costs if I can, though. So please join the panel. We do want more people to come talk to us. And I will be opening the room up to more people right now, so that if you do want to come join the panel, it's not like, oh, there can only be 3 people in there. What the fuck? All right, so we're good there. And Homestead went, yeah, proving my point, Tater. I know I'm a tool. What do you expect? Oh no, I'm a dyslexic person. What do you? I'm a dictator after all. All right.
Oh, the
so
dictator memes.
what was that?
I said, oh, the dictator memes.
Oh, the dictator
Wonderful.
memes, right? Oh, and that was the question. I think it was Homestead. She said, "Is a hot dog sandwich?" There we go. Are hot dog sandwiches? We'll go ahead and do that debate real quick.
I mean, as opposed to what? Sandwiches or just period?
Well, is a hot dog a sandwich, or is it its own classification? Because a hamburger, is it a sandwich?
Yes.
Yes.
Because it has the same type of bun and it's eaten the same
Okay.
direction. A hot dog
Yes,
and a taco are both different.
Yeah, that was the next question. Is basically, Mr. B, is everything between 2 pieces of bread a sandwich or a taco? Both use flour and water and egg to create a bread-like components that have meats, cheese, and vegetables. Is everything a taco? If it's not a sandwich, would it be then a taco?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So no, obviously
it's
not.
not a taco. But
Not a taco.
For some people will argue that the hot dog bun is it's 1 piece, not 2. But to that I say no, it's just not cut all the way through. Whereas the hamburger bun is also 1 piece of bread cut in half all the way through. So yeah,
Indeed.
a hot dog is a sandwich.
And they actually have hot dogs that are cut all the way through or are even cut hamburger style, if you will. So there's that.
Fair. All right. Okay, so was there anything else we wanted to just kind of BS about? Again, we're waiting for anybody to join the panel that wants to join. And if we don't get anybody that joins, we can close the stream down. I know that Verbal Combat is going on right now on Speakeasy's channel, and anybody that watches me for any amount of time, I like shouting out other channels. I like giving other people the credit that they deserve, right? They're working just as hard as I am to do their channel, so I don't like stepping on people's toes. So if you guys don't want to open up the panel, there's no hard feelings on my end. I do want to give you the opportunity to be part of the panel, right? The reason I open up my panels after my streams is to give you the chance to be a voice in the ether without having to go through the BS that I have to have my channel. You never know what you deal with until you start something, and then it's like, wow, this is what this entails. Cool, these people are doing something for sure. So again, if anybody wants to join the panel, feel free. But if you don't, I'll leave it open maybe till about 8 o'clock, and we'll just kind of BS amongst ourselves if we have to, and we'll go from there. Unless the panel people in the debate, I guess I should ask you two, considering you're the entertainment at this point in time. Do you guys need to go anywhere?
I might get up to get a drink here in a moment, but I did want to ask, do we want to do a poll? See who...
It's fair.
What the audience thinks had the better argument tonight?
That's fair. Yeah. Excuse me. So with that being said, I actually want to so I mentioned earlier that I'm going to be doing things a little bit differently. And what I'm going to be doing going forward, for anybody that's in my Discord that hasn't seen the post, I want to get a judge panel together for my debates going forward. That you'll just watch the debate. You'll be part of the stream. You'll be part of the chat if you'd like to be, whatever you want to do. Watch the debate, and then you put in your what you think into like a personal chat or a private thread that I have going on, and then I'll either take a poll and take that, and then basically the average or something, change things up a little bit, and then I'll be doing probably a scoring process once we get actual people that actually have pushback and start to get that blood sports kind of idea where they're straw manning somebody. They might lose points if they're able to solidly steel man their position. They gain points, those kind of things, so that it gives people an incentive to stay honest and more that dialectical style of debate like I'm trying to go to. So if you would like to join the Discord, if you would like to be part of that judge panel, you will have to be vetted. You will have to go through the process to make sure that we want you on that panel of judges and not just somebody that's going to be judging for a lefty all the time or something like that, right? Feel free to join the Discord, and we will get you on that judge panel if you would like to. And who had the better argument? And if
That's
you're
actually a great idea.
What's that?
So sorry, I was just saying that's actually a great idea. It's like more incentive to be good faith, which is amazing.
You think that'll be good? I think it'll be an interesting spin. I'm hoping that it'll be different. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
I think
it
giving
could
some
be
incentive
amazing.
to being good faith like that it's a niche that hasn't been filled yet. There's plenty of people out there that are all blood sports and, tear apart each other, but there's nowhere for people to debate things in a actually constructive way. It's all about cutting people down, and that's why I believe so strongly in what you're doing here.
I appreciate that a lot more than I'll ever be able to tell you guys. I really do. So with the poll that I just put up, if you're voting for Voshmitt, you'll be voting for this gentleman on the screen at this point in time. These people are in the description below, so please go see their channel, give them support. He is just starting out. And if you're voting for Leigha, you are voting for the blank person because she went off cam. Jeez, I'm just kidding. Don't come back on cam if you don't want to. I don't.
No balls.
I stayed on the whole debate.
I am not one that pushes for Cam after the debate. I'm just giving her a hard time. Chat. I'm not like that. Anyway, if you are voting for Leigha, you're voting for her. So please cast your votes. And then again, if anybody would like to join the panel, I'd love to hear your side, and we can talk about something other than stigma, about shame, about the whole drug scene and things like that. We can change up the topic if you guys want to. Again, it's just I want to give you guys an opportunity to be part of the discussions, and I'm not saying that if it's not something that we want to continue on, which I know it'll eventually get there, but like I said, if we don't, that's cool. So as soon as this poll reaches, I don't know, we'll say 10 people because we have 12 in the chat right now that I can see. We'll close that out, and then we'll start a poll for an open panel. So if you guys don't want the panel, you can vote that down, and I can get on with my evening as well as you get on with your evening. As people just start dropping out of the chat, they're like, "Fuck you, Tater, I'm out." That's funny. Oh yes,
Yeah.
and Homestead, thank you for dropping that. If you like AI music, Mr. B does have his own channel as well. I'll give that shout out real quick. But sorry, Leigha, I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you gonna say?
Oh no, you're totally fine. I was just gonna say, honestly, I was kind of, I wonder how it'll do tonight, and just makes me feel even worse for having to cancel last weekend. But because it is, the day before a major holiday, plenty of people are out like testing their fireworks, et cetera, and
Good point.
also a night of.
Good point. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Me neither. Until earlier.
Yeah, my festivities will be tomorrow. So what's all your problems about, y'all? Jeez. I know the people that are watching don't have the problem. It's the people that aren't watching, but Anyway.
Yeah, and we also have the World Cup to contend with this evening. So
that's right.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Yeah, I don't watch sports.
I don't either, but somebody that I sent the link to said that's why they missed it.
Oh,
so
dang!
That's all good.
Shoot, I wish I would have thought about that. Two events, and then on top of that, I think Crucible was live. He was talking about maybe doing a invasion. Speakeasy's live always on Friday night. His VK, and again, if you guys haven't seen Speakeasy, check out his verbal combat. He's doing some interesting things over there. Definitely night and day difference from what I'm trying to do, but I am for it, right? So the biggest thing about me is I'm trying to promote the logical voices. It doesn't matter if you're left or if you're right. We need more logical voices. The biggest problem is we have so many of the radical people, right or left, in the online space shouting their side, and then we have people like the right, and they're just whispering into the void and just, I don't want to be a bother. I want to be a bother, guys. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. I'm sorry how you're going to react to this, lefties, but I'm not sorry for saying it, because we need to start saying it again, right?
Amen.
Amen. Anyway.
Speaking of shaming the lefties, yeah, Leah, I don't know if you remember, I said I was considering getting vicious with this debate to try and get an edge, but I didn't tell you at the time what that argument was going to be. Would you like to hear it now?
I'm assuming it relates to lefties, so go ahead.
Yes. I was essentially going to accuse your argument of being left biased. Like, this is an argument that a lefty would make. Yeah. But no, it didn't pan out well for me. So I was just like, I'm just gonna snip that.
Well, and I kind of brought that up several times with my own humor of like, I know it's warm and fuzzies and all the compassion, right? Because I realize it's very warm and fuzzy feelings based, quote unquote, but that's all we have to go off of are the numbers that we see clinically, and of course the society side. But I mean, as far as actual treatment goes, and all we can see is that the feelings are kind of universally ouching when they get shamed or stigmatized.
Right. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
That was definitely an issue for me. Like, looking at the numbers clinically, that's why I just had to immediately concede that the numbers very much pan out in a clinical setting. Yeah, shame doesn't work. Shame is not helpful. Shame is harmful.
I was so confident.
I really, and you had every right to be confident, but also I was pretty confident because from a societal level, not necessarily a clinical level. And while you were leaning more on the addict side of the argument, I was leaning more on the prevention side of the argument, which would come from society.
Yeah, you two are way too nice to each other with that prompt. I'm not gonna lie, but don't get me wrong.
It still wasn't even narrow enough to not make us go toward the opposite end. So that, if anything, teaches me.
Right.
Well, usually I'm pretty decent at prompt picking, but.
Well, and you were, like I said, you were being super polite to Vosh, and again, I'm here for it. That's what this whole platform is trying to gear toward, is that dialectical, which is trying to understand each other, which means the prompt can be changed. That's what I keep telling people when so I haven't debated yet. I'm really trying to get my first debate set up. But I keep telling people that the prompt, and this is part of the reason why I haven't debated, is your prompt is your first foot forward. If you don't think about that prompt thoroughly, you're setting yourself up for failure. Perfect example is the blind pill. I hate to stab at that, but that whole debate, debating the tool itself, should never have happened like it did, right? This prompt was super beneficial to both of you. It gave you both so much room to work with that there was no way to really hone in on something specific, which, again, that's understandable for this platform. But if you're trying to debate and you're trying to win, right? That's the biggest problem that I have, is that just win. I just want to win, because sophistry is just to win. Whatever it takes, however you have to do it, you just got to win, right? And we don't want that here on my panel or my channel in general.
Oh yeah, I can't disagree. And I just, as a side note, you're exactly right with the generosity in the prompt. To both of their credit. But I definitely, that's probably the longest debate prompt that I've ever debated on. It's probably, it's like all inclusive.
Yeah, and again, I am all here for it. Like I love that you guys were so polite to each other and everything. But like I said, when you get into real debate scene and that I want to win, you want to be careful of what you choose as far as your prompt. But again, that's what this whole platform is here for, is to start you out, get you understanding of what you need to do to be a better debater. I'm here to learn with you. I'm here to help you. I'm here to mock debate with you. I'm here to do anything I can to help you as an individual achieve whatever you want to achieve in life, whether that be a physical job, whether that be online. The online sphere, it's getting oversaturated. So if that's not your calling, that's not your calling, right? But I want people to be starting to speak out more, because again, that shouting compared to that whispering, we got to switch it. We got to make sure that we're the ones who are shouting.
And I definitely did fall victim to just trying to go for the win. That's why I was so adamant about the definition of shame and stigma.
You're all right. It happens.
Back to that.
Especially your first debate. I'll probably be the same way. I'll try to be giving them entertainment, and because debating is boring, right? The way that dialectical is, unless you're really interested in the topic, unless you're really engaged in things, it gets boring, right? Pharmacat, appreciate the engagement. Good night. Have a good night. God bless. And again, if anybody is
really
leaving,
quick, if I could
take care. Go ahead.
Answer Mr. B's question. If you could switch out Peter Parker's spider with the worst power set from an animal, what would the worst animal powers be? I would have to go with the wombat. Its superpower is cubed feces.
Hell Homestead says hairy ticks, after giraffes, after sloth, and then moth, and then walking stick. What? That's funny. Anyway. So so we have 7 votes so far on the poll. So I think we'll probably close that out real quick. And it looks like Leigha has 57% and Vosh is 43%, which is pretty close. It was sitting at 50-50 there for a hot minute. That's probably part of the reason why I'm ending it now, so it doesn't go back to 50-50. And then I'll be starting. Do we want to open the poll? The panel? Do you want a panel? Probably.
I figured it might get stuck at 50-50.
What's that?
Yeah.
I figured it might get.
It was going to go that way,
right? Yeah. So I started that poll in the chat. So if you guys do want a panel, please make sure you say something, because if it gets to, it's 7:38. If it gets to like 7:45, I'm not going to keep these guys just sitting here staring at me in the screen. So if you guys want to come join the panel, please give us some entertainment, right? Anyway, you guys have anything else to say?
No, I was just going to say probably somebody gave me a pity vote because I'm a Haman. That's probably what happened.
Yeah, that's the only reason you won that vote. Simps.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Got to pay the simp tax.
To pay the simp tax. Pay the simp tax. Send it to Tater.
That's right. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding, chat. I'm kidding. I'm not like that. I'm broke joke
I'm not.
too.
Send Tater your money.
Yeah, don't send. No, I'm just kidding. Please send me your money, but don't send it if you can't afford it. Please don't send it if you can't afford it.
You know what's funny though?
Go ahead.
I just say, and like I know, but the sexism, right? But like I never hear that about the guys that win BK. I mean, I'm just saying, nobody has ever said like, oh, it's because you're a dude, or oh, it's because you're black, or whatever other thing that separates us, right? Nobody ever makes that argument.
Right.
The minute it's a woman, If they get here, I'll run.
That's funny. Yeah, the one vote on the poll so far, and it's a resounding no. I mean, it's only one vote, so of course it's going to be 100%. But that's fine. Like I said, this with it being a major holiday, World Cup, I especially finding that out, I didn't think about that at all. I didn't even think about the World Cup. Mr. B says, "You know how hard it is out here for a simp." Not quite the same, Mr. B. Not quite the same. But we did have a decent amount of views. We had 94. I mean, the average was only like 16 minutes of viewership. So not the greatest amount of time watched, but a decent amount of views. So I'm not gonna complain about that by any means.
Amen. I mean, well, you got to think too, like all the things you're competing with at this, not particularly when we began, but during the time that we've been going, the time slot.
Oh yeah. Well, again, even when we began, like I said, we were competing against. I'm pretty sure Speakeasy was live at the time, and Crucible was live at the time. So I want to say we were competing with those two. No, Speakeasy didn't go live until we had gone, and I saw people drop out of the chat. They're like, "Oh, VK's live. We're out of here." And I was like, "All right, that's cool. That's cool. I understand."
And Crucible had a chill stream, but that ended like I want to say 30, 45 minutes before we started.
Oh, it was that. Okay, I didn't realize they had ended before we started. So I thought they were still there, but yeah, with the major holiday and the World Cup, it's not surprising. I'm not upset by any means. It's not like I doesn't really matter, right? I have the same clothes to get glad in, guys. So even if I do get upset, whine about it, and I'll build a bridge and get over it. Bandit says,
well, and it also
go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say also, and my apologies because it's completely my fault, but I had a ton of technical difficulties, which is not fun to just watch and suffer through. So I'm, again, very sorry for that. And
no worries.
It not being so contentious as well, but there's a reason people like blood sport debates, and I feel like all of us are kind of guilty of it at times, and it's because it's fun to watch. I mean, unless it gets ridiculous, it's the back and forth is funny and fun, and I had fun, but for some viewers that like that drama,
well,
I could see why it would not be as engaging.
I really think that if it wasn't the holiday, if it wasn't the World Cup, and if we had been able to get better advertisement, I don't know exactly how, but it's like my open panels, right? The open panels, they do fairly well by themselves, and then considering it's somebody who has a channel and who has had people, Leigha, and then a debate. There would be potential there, but it boils down to how can you make this more enjoyable, and that's why I say I want to change things up a little bit, get that panel involved where the audience knows that there's somebody that's higher up, not just me sitting there like a bump on a log, right, that moderator, but somebody in the background that's sitting there watching and tallying those things up. And it might get them more interested in to stay around and see what that judge panel has to say. And then on top of that, get them involved in the poll so that they can see, okay, the poll, and then comparatively to the panel of judges, where do we sit comparatively to them? I could be a potato and this could be completely off my rocker, but I think that will change the scene a little bit and hopefully give a little bit more spice to the dialectical. And so we can still keep to that dialectical and not sell out, essentially, and still get the views, hopefully. It's just a hope, though. But anyway.
I think it'll be good.
I hope so. I appreciate that vote.
I agree. I think the lack of contention here, a little more could have been better. Would have been a little bit more entertaining, but that's hard for two spigots to do,
Right. Well, and again, so first of all, you're new. For two, you're both from the community. We're trying to see eye to eye, and so it's not just coming in. So when you go into a debate, it's like me going into the debate that I'm going to be going into. When I do, I'm going into it and I'm trying to keep my distance from him as much as I can until that debate, and then after I can try to become friends with him and whatever. But I want to make it entertaining. I want some kind of fire between us, and I will go to him and do my best to say, okay, don't take things personally, right? But we want entertainment, right? And as your first debate, that's almost impossible to actually achieve. But I appreciate you guys coming in and actually doing the debate. It takes a lot of gumption and motivation and, to be able to step out into the ring. So I give you props for that because I haven't done it myself yet. But Dave says in the chat, polls are just popularity contests. And that's just it right there, right? That's why I'll still do the polls because, I love the community feel. But that panel of judges, I'm going to try to get people that are unbiased, right? We used to have a lefty in our Discord, and I'd get him onto the panel if he were to choose to do so. But I haven't seen him in a while, so I don't know. Mr. B says, if you could only ever eat things baked on a pizza crust for the rest of your life, what flavors would still be too weird to try on a pizza? And Homestead immediately follows up with watermelon. And watermelon felon.
That's a great answer.
I'm sorry, that was me. But anyway, moving on. It was
right there. You had to take it.
I had to take it.
No, I would say anchovies. Anchovies would still be.
Oh, yeah.
I'm with you on that one.
Pineapple.
What?
Oh, what?
I'm just
Pineapple
kidding.
and ham? The perfect split between sweet and savory?
Pineapple and olives, man.
Oh my God!
I'm kidding. Isn't that what the Deadpool? Isn't that the combination on Deadpool? And he comes out of the back room and he's like, "I didn't order a pizza." And Ryan Reynolds is like, "Yeah, I did." And he's salty and sweet. And he throws the one piece. He doesn't even eat the rest of it. I could love Deadpool. Anyway, moving.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
How did System of a Down put it? Pepperoni, angry pepper, mushrooms, olives, and chives.
Fair. That would be a nasty combination.
Nobody else heard that song before?
I guess not. Maybe. Who sung it again?
System of a Down.
System of a Down. Okay, yeah, it might have, but I didn't listen to a lot of System. There was a few I really enjoyed, but not many.
Yeah, like that one. How does it go? It's like like the one everybody knows.
That's funny. Yeah. Down with the sickness. Birds Aren't Even Real says, can't liberals be unbiased? Maybe we should debate that first. That's funny. And then I also do want to give a shout out because I've been doing the shout out in the chat, but I want to actually voice the shout out. Birds Aren't Even Real. He's been like one of my best supporters. 2 donos in the last two streams. So that shout out, W's in the chat for Birds Aren't Even Real. Guy's a real one. Again, I'm not saying you gotta support by donating to get the real one status. Just like, subscribe, and share the stream. That's all I need. I swear. I want YouTube to pay me. I don't care for you guys to pay me, but to keep me going until I can get monetized. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate it. All right. So with that being said, I have 71% to end the poll. So we'll 71% to not do the panel. So I'll end the poll and we'll close out the stream. Was there anything that you guys wanted to share, say anything before I have you shout out? So this isn't your shout out. So anything that you'd like to clear off your chest, go at it real hard for 5 minutes or something like that. No? Damn it. Anyway.
You mother.
Anyway. All right. So we'll give Leigha a chance to shout out her channel or anything that she would like to speak on. And then again, these are in the description below, so feel free to check those out in the description. But go ahead, Leigha.
Well, thank you. Yeah, just again, I would love to thank the Voshmeister and of course the Tater Tot for having and participating in this lovely debate with me tonight. It's like I said, it was a great conversation. I greatly appreciate it, and I think that if we try really hard, we could actually come up with something that we're contentious about. We might have to actually sit down and make a list of purposefully trying to, because we tend to agree on a lot of things, but I think we could do it. So there's that. And then also. And if Heaven Max, by the way, is still in the chat, I would also like to say I kind of like slipped this in the chat before when we were going back and forth about the immigration issue. I am totally prepared to do a debate on the immigration issue if he would ever be down. Just saying, just throwing it out there. But check out Vosh. He is an up and coming streamer. He's gonna be doing some gaming and stuff, I think is what he said. And he's making some waves and trying to get some traction as well. I can't make any promises of content anytime soon, at least till kiddos are back in school. But if you want to come hang out with me and await the day that I do make some again, that's cool too. But first and foremost, help Tater with the grift. Share his channel out and show him some love. He's the reason we're all here. And I think that's all. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Oh, wait, one more thing.
Go ahead.
I am so sorry. I almost forgot that to mention during the debate as well. I will share with Tater some resources for anybody who is in need of addiction treatment or has like a friend or family member that is. I also have resources for things like Al-Anon, which is for like the loved ones of alcoholics and addicts, which have really great meetings and stuff. So I'll give him like a whole list, and I'll also post it in the Discord as well for anybody who might need that.
Nice. Appreciate that. Right on. I appreciate you coming on. Was there anything else or anything?
Nope, I'm really done this time, I swear.
No worries, no worries. Yeah, again, go check Leia's channel out. Thank you for dropping that in the chat, Homestead. And then also wanted to give the quick shout out to the Choi Show. Looks like another Leigha supporter. So thank you very much for the view, the interaction. Again, if you haven't liked the stream, subscribe to me. Right, I do try to put on debates, different type. This is a different scene. You'll never see. I can't say never, but you'll never see something like this ever again, because I am the potato and I am a weird motherfucker. Anyway, Jared, thank you very much for the view and the interaction. Yes, I am a potato. That's for sure. But yes, anyway, moving back to you guys, Leigha, thank you again for coming on and everything that you do for my channel. And if you guys haven't subscribed to her, do so. I will be doing everything I can to collaborate with her so that she does have some kind of content for her channel, as well as Vosh whenever we can. Was there anything else, Leigha?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, God bless you guys.
Yep, God bless.
For everything.
And happy 4th.
Yes, happy 4th. Happy birthday, America.
America.
250.
250. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then Vosh, go ahead and shout out whatever you'd like to shout out.
No, I just want to say thanks again for doing the moderation and hosting, and to Leigha for doing the debate. It went pretty much exactly the way both of us predicted. We tried to find points of contention. Wish we could have found a few more, but yeah, if you'd like to see more of me, they've posted my link in the chat. I'm Voshmitt everywhere. If you want to see some gaming, I'm working on some Dwarf Fortress. I might stream after this. Who knows? I may work on my Pragmata video and giving my take on that. So we'll see. Like Tater said, I'm new to the scene and just taking it one step at a time. So if you want to see where that goes, give me a like and a follow, and go follow Leigha, because once she starts making content again, it's going to be good.
Right on. Appreciate that. Yeah, was there anything else that you wanted to say?
Oh, yes. Like and subscribe to Tater, and join the Discord, and join the open panels every Thursday.
Thank you.
7 o'clock every week.
Every
Never
Thursday.
fails.
Never fails. I'm always there, guys. I'm true to my word. Worked my job for what has it been 6 years, and I've not missed a single day if I have the choice. So I will be there every Thursday unless I'm on my death's bed. So please join my panels. Thank you very much for that shout out, Vosh. Thank you very much for coming, debating. Like I said, you guys, seriously, check them out. It takes a lot of gumption to come into the ring. It is seriously something else to be in the spotlight. With that being said, was there anything else you wanted to shout out or anything, Vosh?
Nope. Just thanks everybody for coming. I had a great time. I hope everybody has a great night and a great 4th.
Right on. Well, thank you very much. Happy 4th and God bless, man. All right, guys. So that wraps up the stream. So I have put in Speakeasy's live into the chat. So if you'd like to ghetto right over to him and give me a shout out, if you don't, that's fine too. But go over and give him a like and a interaction, if nothing else. You guys are the real ones. Seriously, we've had a decent amount of viewership tonight, and I've gained a couple of subs from what I'm gathering. Just recycling. Yep, gathered a sub. So thank you very much for all of the support, guys. As always, please take care of yourselves out there. Remember those Second Amendment rights. As always, you are faster, and then the police will be getting to your home. Outside of the United States, please take care of yourselves as best way that you know how. And as always, you could have been anywhere else in the world, but you were here with me on the craziest debate. I'm just kidding. It was a good debate. Thank you very much again. Take care of yourselves. Christ is God, the King of Kings, and always will be. And the potato signing off.
From the fields marks harvest days out here. Every heartbeat's tied to the land. It's the kind of place only God could have planned. Folks drive through but they don't stay long. Guess you gotta be built for a place this strong. If you know, you know, no explaining it. This ground don't give but it sure commits. 'Cause this is where God made me, where the storms roll out and the wind runs free, where the work is hard but it shapes your heart, and the prayers you whisper ride the breeze. Yeah, the dirt runs deep as a legacy. This is where God made me. Found my faith where the river carved stone, where the choir sounds louder than the world I've known, where the lightning cracks like a warning sign, and the thunder answers in perfect time. Every fence post stands like a testimony. Every acre here feels like it owns me. You can talk about leaving, chasing dreams, but this place is the marrow underneath. When the world starts pulling my soul apart, I come back home to restart my heart. 'Cause this is where God made me, where the storms roll out and the wind runs free, where the work hits hard but it shapes your heart, and the prayers you whisper ride the breeze. Yeah, the dirt runs deep as a legacy. This is where God made me. Yeah, God made me. If I go before the daylight fades, lay me down in the field where the wheat is laid. Let the good Lord find me in my home terrain. I'll rise again on this hallowed plain. Yeah, this is where God made me, where the fires burn strong through the family tree, where the work hits hard but it shapes your heart, and the cross on the ridge keeps watching me. Yeah, the dirt runs deep as a legacy. This is where God made me. The silence is heavy,